What is going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Pete Logical, and today I have a report from comicbookmovie.com has reported that a couple days ago at this point, that the Russo brothers, the directors of Captain America the Winter Soldier, review coming tomorrow, Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame, as well as the upcoming directors of Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars have just, according to a rumor, have just signed on a multi-film contract that will basically have them be on ship until beyond Avengers Secret Wars. So I'm going to read the article here, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts on this. Let's dive into this. So, it says, there is no denying that Marvel Studios has struggled to find its footing after Avengers Endgame. After losing several actors and filmmakers, not to mention suddenly being tasked with developing TV shows alongside movies, Kevin Feige has occasionally struggled to keep the multiverse on course. The removers of Jeff Loveness and Michael Waldron from the next Avengers movies and the return of the Russos was seen as a righting of the ship by many. It most certainly was. They have not missed. So that's a good thing. Good thing on your part, Marvel. Now the filmmakers will helm Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. Beyond that, well, they're going nowhere if a new rumor is to be believed. According to insider Daniel Richtman, the Russos aren't walking away from the Marvel Cinematic Universe when the multiverse saga ends. Instead, they've already signed a deal to oversee additional projects for the next saga, including Marvel Studios' X-Men reboot. Whether they'll direct any of those remains to be seen, though we wouldn't exactly be shocked if Feige chooses them to take charge of the MCU's first X-Men movie, as that needs to be a hit if mutants are going to thrive alongside Earth's mightiest heroes. As you may recall, recent rumors have pointed to Mr. Sinister being the big bad of the X-Men franchise, something we've long suspected after Fox's efforts on Magneto, not to mention Sinister's prominent role in X-Men 97. The Mutant Saga's next big event, meanwhile, is rumored to be Avengers vs. X-Men. And that's a movie we could definitely see being on Joe and Anthony's radar. Of course, the duo might not be alone in being part of the next saga if recent reports about Robert Downey Jr.'s future as Dr. Doom are accurate. So yeah, it's looking like Robert Downey Jr. is going to continue being our Dr. Doom going forward after Secret Wars. Now, that has split the fan base pretty much since the opening reveal at DisneyCon or wherever. I think it was at was it Comic-Con? I think it was Comic-Con. I had a massive brain fart there. I apologize for that, but yeah, ever since they first revealed him, a lot of people have been split, myself included. I don't really know where I fall yet. I might make a video about that, about my stance on Robert Downey Jr., alongside all the other stuff like my movie reviews, my rankings, and all that fun stuff that I know you guys like watching. But yeah, Robert Downey Jr. is looking to be Doctor Doom going forward. It's been widely theorized that the upcoming Doomsday and Secret Wars might pit Earth 616's mightiest heroes against Earth 10,005 X-Men. And while that may still happen, it seems Marvel Studios is saving the concept for Avengers versus X-Men, which arguably makes more sense once that new MCU team of mutants is properly established. Yes, if they are going to put the Avengers versus the X-Men, I think if they were going to do that, and that is accurate, having the Avengers fight the X-Men in Secret Wars might seem like recycled ideas. So, yeah, I think the majority of us would prefer, if that were to be the case, to save it for Avengers versus X-Men. And then just focus on the main core group of characters you have now for Doomsday and Secret Wars. Now, Kevin Feige ends this article here with a quote. I think you will see that continues in our next few movies with some X-Men players that you might recognize. Feige teased last November. Right after that, the whole story of Secret Wars really leads us into a new age of mutants and of the X-Men. Again, it's one of those dreams come true. We finally have the X-Men back. Avengers Doomsday is set to be released in May 2026, with Avengers Secret Wars scheduled to arrive in May 2027. Alright. So that is the article from comicbookmovie.com. Alright, now I'm going to give you my thoughts on this. So I think I'd want to start off with this. Even though I believe that this rumor might come to fruition down the line, it is just a rumor right now. So I think we should all take this with a massive grain of salt right now. Now the second thing, it's Daniel Richtman. Now I'm not going to throw shade on him right now or anything like that. But he has been right on a lot of things he's covered. However, he's also been wrong on quite a few things too. So he has one of those reputations where it's kind of hit or miss with the majority of the people that follow him. Again, not throwing shade at him at all. That's just what I've seen online. The other thing, I do believe that this will eventually be revealed because it makes too much sense. IMDb, who don't normally cover things like this, they have reported and linked back to that article that I just read for you. Yahoo has reported on it, but not The Hollywood Reporter or Variety. Now, those two are the main sources for accurate media. Basically, if it's on there, it's 100% true. So we got to see if all that rings true. I think eventually, because this makes a lot of sense, and it's not one of those rumors that I go, huh? You know what I mean? It's not one of those where I'm just not, I can't see happening. Um, I think eventually we will see Marvel Studios report on this. Now, whether that is after Doomsday and Secret Wars have already come out, or whether that is as near as the next Comic Con or D23, where they usually like putting a lot of stuff out. I think once at some point this will happen. I firmly believe that. But it is just a rumor, so right now take it with a massive grain of salt. My thoughts are Marvel should be focusing more on Doomsday and Secret Wars because those are the nearest big event movies for that franchise. And those are two movies, specifically Secret Wars, that could alter some trust with the fan base, because facts are, even if you've liked the movies that have come out since Endgame, the fans have really been split on the MCU since then, because like there's just been a lot of misses and a lot of hits and a lot of movies that have been kind of in the middle. So things are kind of spotty right now. However, this did gain traction. So it won't shock me if at some point I see this out there. So from this point on, I'm going to, like my previous ones that you guys seem to really like, I'm going to take this as it's true because I think it makes a lot of sense. So if this is true and the Russos are on, well, and I'm gonna get right into this, they've made the perfect solution to this. As who else is out there that has the same or equal track record as the Russos in terms of comic book movies? I think that would be James Gunn. However, James Gunn is over at DC, and it's clear that he has a plan for the future of that franchise, so he's not available right now. So who else is out there than the Russos? Nobody. So, and they have a lot of pull with Marvel after being the directors of some of their biggest films ever. The Winter Soldier and Infinity War are possibly the two best Marvel movies in general. And of course, Secret Wars is right up there too, and Endgame is obviously the conclusion of a 20-year saga. So it makes sense how they would have a lot of pull right now. The Russos so I think they have a lot of trust with them. So the Russos oversee the X-Men and potentially the Avengers versus X-Men saga. So I have a few things here. Number one, we don't know who the Avengers are. We have 2 Avengers movies coming out within the next 2 years. And still, Marvel has failed to reveal to us who all the main Avengers are. Number 2, who are the X-Men? Who are the X-Men mutants that we will follow? I think one of them is probably Wolverine, but there's some questions there as it relates to both of those. Number 2, is this a corporate role, like Kevin Feige, where he's overseeing all the stuff relating to the MCU. Is it that and a director's role where, yes, that's going to happen, but I'm also going to direct the movies, which I think could happen? Or is this just them saying, hey, these are the directors? Like, again, in any of those scenarios, like, it makes a lot of sense because of their track record and because how big they have been for Marvel in the past. And Robert Downey Jr. has even come out and said he would have never returned if the Russos didn't return with him, because they have the trust of the actors as well. So if Robert Downey Jr. says he wouldn't come back, then I think there you go. And obviously they want to bring as many people into this franchise as possible. So we got to see, but I think I really like all of that. The next thing this article has got into a little bit is the things about Mr. Sinister being the main villain of the X-Men. I like this idea. Magneto, while he's one of my favorite comic book characters of all time, we've kind of seen, I wouldn't say too much of him, but we've seen enough to where I don't really think there's more to tell from him right now, unless you need him involved, and I think that Avengers vs. X-Men movie would be a good place of introducing us to him. I think moving on to a different character is perfectly fine. Number one, it's Magneto. Magneto's been used way too much in Fox. Number two, they would have Dr. Doom if that is true, that Robert Downey Jr. is going to be him for a while. I'm not going to say Doom is Magneto to a lot of, or anything like that, but he has similar characteristics as Magneto. So I think Doom is pretty much would play that role in whatever they have going forward. Number three, X-Men 97 has used him a bunch in season 1, and I think, and I was a huge fan of that show, so I would not be opposed for Mr. Sinister being used in this one. And number four, and this probably should have been number one, but because it was Magneto, I had to talk about him first. Isn't it crazy that of the main villains that the X-Men has had over the near 50 years of their existence, we still haven't had Omega Red or Mr. Sinister yet on live action. We got Apocalypse, albeit not a very good Apocalypse, but we got Apocalypse. We have had Magneto. We've had the Juggernaut. We've had pretty much every single main antagonist for the X-Men aside from Mr. Sinister and Omega Red. Like, I think they would be crazy not to include those two. It's just, I just believe that. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Mr. Sinister arc. Now, let's move on to the Kevin Feige stuff. I think he seems really excited to have new X-Men back. For one, I think getting the X-Men is huge for Marvel. It's one of their big IPs, and I think they have some of the most iconic characters in Marvel history, like Wolverine, Charles Xavier, Hank McCoy, Cyclops, Jean Grey, just so many classic Marvel characters that everybody knows, relates back to the X-Men. So I think, and I don't want to put words in Kevin Feige's mouth, but I think we're going to see a blend between the classic characters that we know, plus mixed in with some that is kind of like, that wouldn't necessarily be in the first or second event, like X-Men movies. So I think we're gonna see something like that, where they're taking the characters we all know mixed with some new ones that didn't really get the spotlight, such as Gambit or Jubilee or Kitty Pryde, mixed in with some of the ones that we're familiar with. So the OG X-Men were, of course, Professor X, Beast, Cyclops, Iceman, Angel, and Jean Grey. I think we could see Wolverine being added to that group. I think Rogue would be a nice addition. Storm and Gambit and Jubilee. And of course my favorite X-Men character, Nightcrawler. I think there's so much to work with. So who's the X-Men we're going to be following? We don't know. And is this true that Joe and Anthony Russo have signed? It's still just a rumor right now, but I think this makes a lot of sense for them. So I would lean towards it being true than it being not, just because of how big this is, and the fact that IMDb, who normally doesn't report on stuff like that, they normally like put cast info and like movie stuff related, not news. Like IMDb isn't really a news organization, so, but they're reporting it, so that's kind of that could be an indicator, like maybe this is just around the corner from it being true. And I think this is true. So yeah, we just have to wait and see see where Marvel Studios takes this. So with that being said, what do you guys think of all of this? Do you agree? Do you not? Do you think this, because it's a rumor, you're not really going to buy into all of this? So let me know. And like the video, subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow for my review of Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So, see ya.